And a very hearty welcome back to Theodicy classes. And we are with, yes, godlessness, scientific and aristocratic godlessness, and we have exposed the theoretical aspect of it, and then we are checking what are our observations. So the first point was, don't underestimate. Clear? Don't underestimate. And then the second point was that, yes, godlessness and aristocratic, godlessness and atheism presupposes a stand, that is a denial, a neutral stand. They don't talk about God, but rather they try to know the nature of the world and observe it and try to come into that. Okay. The third point is, well, scientific godlessness creates a climax for godlessness. Okay. Scientific godlessness. Look at the title. Scientific godlessness creates a climax for godlessness. Don't get confused. Yes. Scientific godlessness. We said what is it is. So, scientific godlessness creates a climax for godlessness. So, beginning we started with godlessness and atheism. Defined. Godlessness is a practical way of living without acknowledging God. Yes, practical way. Yes, you have your value system and all, but without acknowledging God. Now we are telling scientific godlessness, because science is taking a departure from God, and science is trying to know the destiny, what is the nature of this world and all that is. So, scientific godlessness creates a climax for this one. In other words, yes, scientific godlessness justifies, yes, the ordinary understanding of godlessness. That is the point. That is simple idea. But then, in other words, people live with values, but they don't acknowledge God. And that is justified by, yes, it gives a climax by scientific godlessness. Yes, both places godlessness is there, but then here it is scientific godlessness, which we have already seen. So I will just read it out. What is stated above the title, we prove from the following arguments given below. Yes, in other words, scientific explanation creates a climax of godlessness. Okay, what is that? In early times, God was introduced to explain motion. Yes, God as unmoved mover or the first mover. Yes, even yes, first years at the end you will study. Yes, in your second years I have already studied. Yes, what is that? Yes, in the 5 proofs also, the first mover, or in philosophical sense we call God as the unmoved mover. He goes on moving everything but doesn't move. The starting point. So, okay, with the arrival of science, okay, in early times God was introduced to explain motion. With the arrival of science, we do not need such explanation, because motion and all natural phenomena have been understood and explained through naturalistic and scientific theories. Yes, in other words, yes, the philosophical explanation of God as unmoved mover is replaced with naturalistic and scientific theories. That is one point. The attitude of science is one of mastering and dominating. Mastering, trying to comprehend, trying to understand, try to master it. Not that simply keep it aside and look it as a mystery. That's how nature and all, yes. Earlier, you know, if you study, when you studied earlier understanding of a passage to modernity, a critique of culture and nature, a book I had introduced for second years, clear in the beginning. Yes, in that, well, earlier, physis, the word used, where that is comprising of world, God and man. Everything was one. Slowly, reflection began, and then we found nature as world, separated from God and man. And slowly, God was separated, and there is a disintegration of the three. One into three, namely, yes, modern philosophy talks about world, man and God. So that is the change that has brought about, clear? Therefore, motion and natural phenomena have been understood and explained through naturalistic and scientific theories. The attitude of science is one of mastering and dominating. That is to say, scientific theories and modern discoveries created a shift of emphasis. Shift of emphasis from a mystery understanding to a reality understanding. Clear? Yes, we know what is what and what is not. Okay. In all religions and philosophies, we find the starting point as wondering, yes, at nature. And that leads to contemplation over it and affirm God as the source. Yes, and that is the science in philosophy and religion. With the advent of science, we begin with questioning and look for answers, and science gives its answers, creates a master or dominant attitude in man. Consequently, the God question becomes indifferent one. So in other words, well, scientific godlessness creates a climax for godlessness. Now the fourth point is still interesting. Fourth one, and that is, well, we always insist upon, that is self-responsible character of science. Self-responsible character of science. Yes, very often in our growth, in our formation, we have been told, be responsible. Yes, stand on your own leg. What does it mean? Yes, don't be guided by others. You stand on your own leg because you have your reason and all that is. So, science is self-responsible. Yes, it creates its own, yes, fundamental notions, understanding, and then it is self-responsible. It doesn't have to depend on something else for its existence. So, science is self-responsible. That is the one. The modern man is able to bear the consequences of the happenings of the world. He takes for granted that science and technology can control nature and transform human history. So, in other words, that is what is called self-responsible character of science. In other words, science is capable of controlling nature and transforming human history. Instead of placing the world at the hands, instead of placing the world at the mercy of a distant God, science makes itself responsible to a great extent. So you just imagine a few examples. At least one. Days ago, now weather prediction is going to be cyclone or depression, very too heavy rain, there will be thunderstorm or raining and all that is. Yes, the fisher flock, men are asked not to go into the sea for catching fish. And all that is connected with prediction. Now you get also in the WhatsApp now, yes, within 40 minutes, yes, in your vicinity and area there will be lightning and thunder. Yes, information which was not at all available earlier. A cyclone, yes, in Bay of Bengal or anywhere in the sea, when it is getting developed, the genesis of it is already found, and within these 3 days or 4 days, it will touch the coastal state, coastal land, and then with 120 kilometers, 130 kilometers, so all that is being predicted. In other words, science with its self-responsible character and many things like that. Yes, we have the latest types of seeds available, the help of science, and so many things. Therefore, science is responsible. Follow. But then still many more questions can be asked, but that's a different thing. But then, from the perspective of his observation, verification and prediction, we can rely on. That is called the self-responsible character. So in other words, instead of placing the world at the mercy of a distant God, science makes itself responsible to a great extent. Clear? In short, we say these observations indicate that science in some way may encourage a sort of godlessness. That's the thing. So, because of his self-responsible character, science may project a kind of godlessness. So, that is something natural. It's not for the sake of denial, but rather for a better starting point, better finding of truth. Okay. But a detailed examination will make it clear that it is not an explicit and justifying denial of God's existence. Science is not interested in going on proving the non-existence of God, but rather it's only a point of departure for their discoveries and studies and all that is. So in other words, the sentence is something interesting. A detailed examination will make it clear that it is not an explicit and justifying denial of God's existence. On the contrary, it promotes an enlightened affirmation of God, which goes beyond all mythical explanation. If I were to ask from the part of the university, put the question, well, I would put this as a question point, starting point. What is that? Yes, science promotes an enlightened affirmation of God which goes beyond all mythical explanation. Explain. Yes, you have to start with godlessness and atheism. What is it? And then you will have to say how it is different from or how it is similar to believe in God. And then you talk about kinds of different types of godlessness, and then come into scientific godlessness and atheism, and then explain what it is. Yes, don't underestimate it, and then yes, say all these 4 points, self-responsible character of science and all. Finally, you conclude by saying, yes, from all what is stated above, we can say science promotes an enlightened affirmation of God which goes beyond all mythical explanation. So that will be the end of it, whatever it is. Okay, then now we move on to the next point, namely 3, 1, 2. Yes, 3, 1, 1. Yes, don't underestimate, and all that is, it's point 1, 2, 3, 4 we explain. Now 3, 1, 2. Humanistic godlessness. So next point will be humanistic godlessness. The first one was scientific godlessness and atheism. And then we say it creates a climax for godlessness. And then we also said the self-responsible character. That itself can be an essay. Clear? The rest of them also together can be essay. Next point is humanistic godlessness. So, humanistic godlessness, we will see it in the next class. Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe